So I watched this movie the other day. Don't ask how I got roped into watching this, but Frozen 2. I actually kind of enjoyed the first Frozen. You know, it had its flaws, but I think it was generally well done. You know, kids movie, cool songs. But the second one, while it was okay, by the end of the movie, the messaging, the propaganda, the underlying axioms of that it's working from became extremely apparent, and they are very relevant to the events we see in the world today. So basically, the story is that there's two kingdoms. One is the actual kingdom with a castle and people who live in civilization, and the other one is the magical forest people, kind of like half elves kind of thing. So once again, you've got this dichotomy set up between civilized people and, you know, let's say the noble savage, if you want to understand the myth of the noble savage. The noble savage is this, you know, it doesn't go straight into the difference between them, but something happened and it caused all the forest spirits to go awry, and it just caused a whole bunch of drama. There's a fog descending all over the forest and these people are trapped in there. So the magical princess gets called into the forest by the spirits, and she has to right the past wrong. So what originally happened was the city people, the civilization people, offered to build a dam for the forest people as a show of peace. But then a conflict ensued and all hell broke loose, and then we ended up with this, you know, fog, and people are... It's a big drama, okay? It's just a big drama. Something bad happened. They were supposed to be getting together to shake hands, and they built a dam for them as a show of camaraderie, but something bad happened and it's all bad. So the magical princess gets called into the forest by the ancient spirits to right this past wrong. And what happens is you find out that basically the old king, the old, let's say, I mean, it's set in Northern Europe, so the old white king just said, nah, there's something I don't trust about these forest people, these noble savages. There's just something I just don't trust about them. And so he slit the throat of one of them while he wasn't looking. You know, the poor, helpless, loving cherub of a forest elf guy was just kneeling down, admiring something about nature. Something wondrous had captured his childlike gaze, and the evil white king came up behind him, drew his sword and slit his throat. And then all hell broke loose. And then to right this wrong, there's two princesses in this show, but one of them gets called away, the other one has to make a decision. So one of the princesses decides to break the spell over the forest. I need to destroy the dam. And of course, for whatever reason, in a story that's supposedly set in medieval Denmark, one of the king's right-hand man, the general or something, is, you know, a groovy black guy, of course. But he says, you can't destroy the dam because then it will flood the whole valley and the whole castle will be destroyed. Basically, if you do that, you're destroying your own civilization. And she's like, yeah, okay, but I have to do what's right, so I'm going to do it. And, you know, long story short, it's a kid's movie. She does unleash the dam and her other sister comes back, and because of magic, magic saves, you know, the magic trumps physics, and the flowing water gets diverted by her ice magic, and it's all good. But if you look at the tropes, it's a funny thing when people talk about art, you know, movies or music or whatever, blah, blah, blah. People would go, oh, you read too much into it. It's just a movie. It's just a movie. The point is, you can't have something be commercially popular and mainstream popular that flies in the face of the accepted moral intuitions of the day. If it goes counter to what people find acceptable, it will never see the light of day. So what is mainstream is a good litmus test for what is acceptable. What is an acceptable narrative? What is an acceptable perspective, morality, etc., etc. That's the point. And you have to understand that what we see in art these days is what is acceptable to the sensibilities of most people. And in this case, it's a kids movie. So look at all the tropes. Look at all the themes you've got here. You've got magic, which is usually a bit of a metaphor for women having a harder time in general telling the difference between reality and their feelings. You know, women are very emotional. They can be consumed by their emotions. On average, more so than men. Definitely more than me, that's for sure. But so, you know, you got this women with magic, and I think it is a little bit of a metaphor for women's wishful thinking. But then you've got, once again, the dichotomy between the evil white European castle and civilization and the beautiful forest people. You know, even in the civilization, there's a king, there's a hierarchy, there's order, there's a hierarchy, there's a king. But when you go into the forest, there's no forest king. They're all equal. It's all equality. It's all this herd morality, like, oh, we're all equals. So you've got a dichotomy between traditional white monarchy, hierarchy, European hierarchy, and then the noble savage equality. You know, nature, greenies, like, oh, we're all living in nature, and it's all good actually. Like, you know, where the civilized people create technologies like horse and carriage and all sorts of things, wells, and they create technology and tools. What the forest people use is magic. So, you know, once again, a metaphor for God knows what, but it's just magically okay. Which I guess in the same way as if you're going to have this, you know, like the Seattle Chaz zone, it's just magically okay because we're all equal. But really, you'd have to have wishful thinking to the degree that you would consider it magic in your own mind to think that it's actually okay because you're living in a shithole. But anyway, that's probably a different topic. But the main crux of what I think the relevant thing here is the daughters, the princesses. It's presented with this option of lift the fog that is somehow detrimental. It's not hurting them, it's just covering the sky over the forest. So lift the fog that covers the sky, that's inconveniencing or whatever the forest people, and in doing so destroy your own city, destroy your own castle. I mean, all the people got out, so she's not willingly drowning a whole city worth of people because they left the city, but destroy your civilization. You know what I mean? So, and she goes, yep, let's do it. If that's not a metaphor for using women's sensibilities to undermine society, I don't know what is. It's just that this isn't an obscure metaphor. It's literally being shown to your daughters. And once again, you know, it's all multicultural. That's, you know, such a common trope that, you know, you'd get in trouble if it wasn't multicultural. If you didn't have black people in ancient medieval European stories, you know, things have gone so far that, you know, you'd probably get sued over it. Anyway, but the main crux of the movie is that she makes that decision to destroy her own civilization for the sake of, quote, freeing the forest people. And not only that was she prepared to do that, she let the waters loose, it's all tearing down, but magically she didn't even have to face the consequences of her own choice because her other sister came, and with magic it all just worked out. You know, the general is like, this is the choice, you're going to destroy your civilization, but she doesn't even do it because it's just magic. But once again, I think the magic is kind of just wishful thinking. If it wasn't a kids movie with magic and wishful thinking, it's like, okay, yeah, thanks, you just destroyed 1,000-year-old castle or whatever, and now a whole city, a whole country of people are devastated economically. They're all going to starve to death and homeless and die in the cold because of a fog over the forest. You decided to basically break a dam and flood the whole kingdom with water. That's what would actually happen. I just think that's worth pointing out. And this isn't a unique thing. This is not special in any way. Once again, it's just a litmus test. It's just an example of the prevailing morality of the day. Something bad. Your ancestors did something bad in the past. And now to atone for it, you need to destroy what you have. And if you do that, magically everything will work out and everyone will be happy and it'll all be sunshine and rainbows after that. That's the messaging, that's the programming that is acceptable today and is being shown to your children. So be aware of it. Once you start to be able to read these social narratives, you just can't get away from it. It's everywhere. But that is the morality of the day being taught to your daughters and your children, but specifically your daughters, is destroy your civilization to say sorry for the past, and then if you do that, everyone will be happy and the future will be bright and it'll all just be fantastic and nothing bad will actually happen. For some reason, the magical forces that be will see your sacrifice and somebody with some magic or whatever will take care of it. Of course, that's not reflective of reality at all, but yeah, just be aware of it, because we're living in a new religion. We're living in a new religion of equality. And in the same way that you probably, 1,000 years ago in Middle Ages in Europe, the Catholic Church was the religion. You couldn't go anywhere without saying, "Oh, g'day Tim, yeah, blessings upon you. Jesus saves," or whatever, crossing, Jesus, Mary, Joseph, blah, blah, crossing your face. You go into a bar, there's going to be a cross. You go to any person's house, there's a cross. The religion's everywhere because that's the way people signal, yeah, I'm with the religion, I'm a good person. I'm not a heretic, I'm not against that stuff. But the religion now is, like I said, everyone's equal except your Western ancestors were pieces of shit, and if you destroy what you've got now and equalize yourself with other people, then that's the bright future that we're all aiming for. That's the way that you can be a good person and go to heaven.